All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the elder bishops, elders of Great Millstone, and rule very well, very beautifully. Double salutations unto the Akim out here pushing this gospel and truth and in sincerity to the best of their ability, given to them by Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Peace, blessings, and salutations be unto the elect scattered abroad. May the election of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, fall upon all your houses. This is the brother Quan Watt from the Arizona Great Millstone Camp. Come back at you, Lord will, with the edifying lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Lord will. It is edifying, Lord will. It is straight to the point. And as you see right here on the screen, man, this is the elder, from GMS San Francisco camp, GMS dedication, and the lesson he did right here is don't copy the behaviors and customs of this world, right? Going into the Labubu dolls, which as you see right there on the left-hand side, you see the little Boo doll, right? But it's actually made, right, after, that demon, right? Pazuzu, man, and again, the elder beautifully goes into it. And the center point of this lesson is not following after the ways, right, of the world, right, which ultimately is what? That broad and wide path which leadeth unto destruction, which we read in Matthew's the 7th chapter, beginning at the 13th verse, right? But instead, right, we're to be conformed to the image of the Son, which is the center point of this lesson, right? Just, kind of adding, right, to the elder's point, right, in the elder's video, man, which, again, a very beautiful elder through the spirit, man, very beautiful lesson he posted, right? So go and subscribe, watch the lesson, be edified, as well as the other lessons that the elder posts. But, without further ado, I just want to hit this right here in Romans 12, which the elder ultimately read in the NOT. I'm going to get it in the KJV. It says, verse 1, it says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of the Most High, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. And this is something that we're supposed to do every single day, man, right? Especially now more than ever, because, we're at the very end of the end, man, right? Literally at any moment, Esau can, squeeze, right? And that grip can get even tighter, right? The infrastructure for the MO to the TB, right, is already here. It's already passed, right? The Genius Act and whatnot, all that legislation is here. Right? He's already got these FEMA camps, isolation facilities, re-education camps, whatever you want to call them, right? He's already got them set up, right? You got alligator Alcatraz. There was talks of something called bear Alcatraz in Alaska and many other places that they haven't, spoke on, are already up, man. So literally at any point, Esau can come down, So more now than ever, right, that leisure time that we do have, right, we have to put towards Yahweh Shemel Shai to the best of our ability, right, as we read. And let me grab it. I think I have it pulled up right here. So yeah, Sirach 38 and verse 24, right here in the middle of your screen, it says, the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, and he that hath little business shall become wise. So again, right, all the opportunities that we have to serve Yahweh Shemel Shai, and we got to use them, man. Because as it says in Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and the strength of salvation. So, use that time that you have now, right? Present your bodies as a living sacrifice and serve Yahweh Shemel Shai to the best of your ability, man. Scriptures also talk about denying yourself, That's part of that, that sacrifice, right? Let's go back, right? It says, holy and acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service. It's our job, right? Verse 2, here's the point. It says, be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? We have to have a whole new mindset. We got to change our whole mind, man. The way that we act, right? The way that we react, right? The way that we think, everything about us has to change, right? Coming into this truth, into this ministry, right? Because when we were in the world, these things like the Labubu dolls and this, that, and the third, we were all about that shit, man. And not knowing that this shit is demonic, not knowing that this shit, will lead us to our death, man. But now we do know, right? Now we know, and we have the understanding, right, of what's going on, right? We understand that this thing is spiritual, man, right? And we war not what against what? Flesh and blood, right? Against principalities, right? Spirits and whatnot, right? Left-hand side, right? Esau's left-hand priesthood. We're fighting against all those different things, man. You know? So we have to walk away from that shit, right? Otherwise that can overtake us, you know, and destroy us, right? It says, and be not conformed to this world, right? Be not conformed to this world, right? Which I want to grab that word conformed, right? This is the word conformed, you know, in the online etymology. It says be obedient to the Most High, comply, right? It says conform, agree to, make or be similar, be agreeable, right? No, and we can't, right, be agreed with this world, man. We can't be, you know, complying with this world, right? You read in James 4:4, it tells you that friendship with the world is enmity with the Most High. You know, meaning you're at odds, meaning you're basically an op of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. You know, that word op is short for what? Opposition, man. You meaning you're against, you're contrary to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And you don't want to be that, man. Because we understand what's coming to those who are in opposition to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. It's death and destruction, man. You know, some people will sit there and say, oh, that's too harsh. But that's the reality and the truth of the matter. You know, the reality is if you are contrary to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, your recompense, your reward is death and destruction. Right? It says to fashion, to form, to shape, educate, modify. It says to make, right here, to make of the same form or character, right? Bring it to harmony, make agreeable, right? You don't want to be, right? And have the same, you know, characteristics, you know, of this world, man, right? Lasciviousness, greed, right? Envy, jealousy, right? You don't want any of that, man, because those are characteristics that will lead to your death. Those are carnal, right, and fleshly, you know, characteristics, man. You know, but we're to what? To follow after the Spirit, right? As we read in Galatians, man, you know, which if the Spirit would allow, I'll ultimately grab, you know, but I do want to go back, right? It says what? And be not, verse 2, Romans 12:2, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed, right, by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what that is good, what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High, right, man? Right? Not supposed to be conformed to the image of the world, but we're to be conformed to the image of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? Let's go ahead and grab that in Romans the 8th chapter. I think it's verse 29, right? It says right here, it says, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, right? It says, be not conformed to the world, but be conformed, right, to the image of his son, which is Yahweh Shai. It says that he might be firstborn among many brethren. And again, when we go back to that word conformed, it says to make, which is highlighted, to make of the same form of or character, right? Scriptures say, a whole bunch of demons, you're supposed to, hey, what, man? Scriptures say to walk even as he walked, man. You know, we're supposed to, what scriptures say, to arm yourselves likewise with the same mind, right? Let's grab that. Arm. Right here, 1 Peter 4:1. It says, for as much then as Hamashiach hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. Meaning we're supposed to operate and move, right, the way Yahweh Shai moved, man. Right? Especially when dealing with different afflictions and chastisements and whatnot. You know, with that, we have or many examples, right? Yahweh Shai being the best, you know, example, right? But we have many different examples, right, of how to properly walk, right? How to properly deal in different situations, right? We read it throughout the scriptures, all the different prophets, disciples, apostles, you know, judges, and so on and so forth, man. You know, we have those examples, man. And that's why it says, you know, Job 8:8, right? Inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, right? Sirach 2:10, right? Look at the generations of old. We're supposed to read about these different things. Romans 15:4, the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning, right? This is how we are supposed to move. Again, and Yahweh Shai being that number one example of how we are to move in this world, man. You know, it says, for he that hath suffered in the flesh hath ceased from sin, right? And that was the point. Let me highlight this real quick. And I did want to bring out this scripture right here in St. John chapter 1 and First John chapter 2 and verse 5. It says, but in the KJV it says, but whoso keepeth his word, in him verily is the love of the Most High perfected. Hereby we know that we are in him. Verse 6, the point says, he that saith he abideth in him ought himself also to walk even as he walked, man. Right? Let's go ahead and, it's like in that text commentary. Right? Let's go ahead and look up that word walk. Right? Walk and walked are ultimately the same word. Strong's G 4043. Let's grab right here.
Strong's G 4043. Peripateo. Peripateo.
And then on the right hand side, you got 444, call Allah Yahweh Shem Shah, right? But it says right here to walk, to make one's way, progress. And here's right here. Here's the point. To regulate one's life, to conduct oneself, right? We're to conduct ourselves, right? Or conform ourselves, right? Like Yahweh Shai, man, to the best of our ability, right? Yahweh Shai is perfect in the flesh, right? We're not, you know. But hey, guess what, man? We can still try, right? We strive to be like Yahweh Shai, man, in our daily lives, man. This goes for myself first and foremost, man, right? It's not an easy thing, but nonetheless, right, we still have to fight, right? Fighting that good fight of faith, man, right? As Apostle Paul has said, man. This is a part of this straight and narrow path, man, right? You walking, right, as Yahweh Shai would walk, man. You know, the elder apostles, right, said it first, but brothers have said it many times, man. You know, when you go throughout your day and you know, operate in this world, you know, they have the, you know, in the pagan Christian world, they have that bracelet that says WWJD, right? What would, you know, JC do, right? But we say WWYD. What would Yahweh Shai do, man? Right? What would Yahweh Shai do? And that's how we have to walk, man. You know? And again, it's not easy, but nonetheless, right? As you continue to go through, you know, this walk and continue to meditate upon the scriptures, right, you will be exercised, right, to think that way, you know, as you continue to walk in this ministry, man. You know, it'll get easier to become more first nature, you know, as long as you continue to try, as long as you continue to fight. But this is how we are to walk, man. This is how we are to move. We're not supposed to follow the world. We're supposed to follow Yahweh Shai. Right? Yahweh Shai said what? My sheep hear my voice and they follow me. You know, and I've gone into that word before, man. You know, that word follow basically means to, you know, again, to conform, to fix one's character unto, you know. We're supposed to conduct ourselves to the best of our ability like Yahweh Shai would, man. WWYD. What would Yahweh Shai do, man? You know? But that's, you know, I just wanted to add right to the elders, you know, lesson, man. Again, being a 1444, man. Call Allah Yahweh Shem Shai. I didn't even know. But yeah, man. Right? That's how we're supposed to walk, man. Fuck the ways of the world. Fuck the ways of these you know, people that, you know, that ultimately sold out, man. You know, because all these different, you know, celebrities and whatnot, right? They ultimately sold out, man. They sold their soul, right, for a piece of change, man. These people are bugged the fuck out, man. Why would you follow that? These people are going to be destroyed. They got their consolation on this side, man. We're trying to receive, you know, the kingdom and the riches that come with it, man, and the blessings and promises that come with it. You know, that's what we have to look forward to. That's what we should be focused on, man. Fuck the ways of this world. Right? We're trying to follow Yahweh Shai and be heirs with him to his glory. You know? But that's all I wanted to grab, man. Just kind of wanted to, you know, add to the elders' lesson. You know, Lord will is edifying, Lord will straight to the point. I'm going to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rachak, Kodash, double honor to the elder apostles, elder bishops, great millstone. Till next time, Shalom.